Thank you, Deputy Mayor. You are now live.
Thank you very much, Annie. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Accessibility Advisory Committee. I'll call the meeting to order and do the land acknowledgement. At this moment, as Deputy Mayor, I'm stepping in for our Vice Chair. We will say the land acknowledgement that the Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and the traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and that we are all treaty people. We'll do the roll call to make sure everyone is here, can be seen and heard, and then I will ask for a motion to appoint me as chair just for the duration of the meeting. So the roll call, Elizabeth.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Can you see and your interpreter?
Yep, no problems.
Wonderful. April Adams. I don't think I see April here.
Thank you, Chair. I believe April is just coming into the meeting now.
Excellent. Michelle Mahoney.
Yes, loud and clear here.
Thank you, Michelle. Rachel Manette.
Hi, it's Rochelle. I'm here.
Thank you. Jordan Waterbury.
Present.
Thank you, Jordan. Councillor Trish Purdy.
I am here. Thank you.
I'm sorry to interrupt. It's April. I am here. I apologize. I wasn't set up as a moderator and I had to select that, but I'm here.
Welcome, April. Thank you for joining us. And Councillor Russell, we'll check your audio and video.
Good afternoon, coming to you from the shores of First Lake in wonderful Lower Sackville.
Lovely. So could a member of the committee please make a motion for me to act as chair for the duration of this meeting only?
I'll do it. Michelle Mahoney here.
Thank you, Michelle. And is there a seconder for that?
Jordan Waterbury seconding.
Thank you, Jordan. I appreciate that. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Raise your hand. Opposed, nay. Our motion is carried. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to start this meeting with a special acknowledgement for our chair, previous chair, Andrew Taylor. This is our first meeting since his passing. And we wanted to take a moment just to say a few words about Andrew. You know, I had the pleasure of attending his celebration of life. He and I had known each other for quite some time. And it was just amazing to listen to his family and to advocates from around the province who knew Andrew and who spoke so well about his contribution to the advocacy of persons with disabilities in HRM, but also in this province. He had a wit that we all enjoyed. His puns were always great. When he did make a statement, though, his point was very clearly made. So he didn't suffer any fools either. He enjoyed this committee so much, and he enjoyed working with HRM staff, with Melissa Myers, with Annie, with yourself, Elizabeth. You know, he always had a kind word for everyone, anyone. You know, even if we only met them once, maybe twice, Andrew always had a kind word for anyone. And the other thing that he did, I think that we all needed to celebrate, was that he elevated everyone's voice when it came to advocacy for persons with disability. He never tried to overshadow, to overspeak on anyone. He was just so respectful to either elevate or to echo and support all of us in all of our work around accessibility and advocacy. And so if you are in agreement, we could just take a moment to be quiet and reflect on his smile, on his puns, on what his contributions have been. We would deeply appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. I know that Andrew is somewhere watching us all and saying, keep up all the good work. Oh, that's a little emotional.
Here, Andrew. Yay. Yeah.
Yay, thank you. And so now we'll have the approval of the minutes of February 26, 2020.
Moved.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. A seconder.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Purdy. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Approval of the order of business and the approval of additions and deletions. Are there any additions or deletions?
Thank you,
asking
Chair. Yeah, thank you. There were no additions or deletions received by the clerk's office for today's meeting.
Thank you. So we have a motion then to approve the order of business.
This is Rochelle. I'll move.
Thank you, Michelle. A seconder, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Purdy. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Raise your hand. All those opposed? Okay. Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay. This is a very busy annotated agenda. Business arising out of the minutes, there are none. We'll call for conflicts of interest. Is there any conflict of interest? Seeing none, we'll move on. Consideration of deferred business, there is none. Correspondence, petitions, and delegations. Madam Clerk, are there any?
Thank you, Chair. There is no correspondence received for today's meeting, nor any petitions.
Thank you. And we have no presentations, so we go to our information items brought forward. There are none. Reports. 9.1.1 is the HRM Accessibility Strategy Consultation. And so we will have a presentation now by Melissa Myers.
Thank you so much, Kia, and I really also want to say thank you, Deputy Mayor, for those kind words. Regarding Andrew, I've known Andrew myself for quite some time, so I think Deputy Mayor, you've done that up quite nicely. So thank you so much for that. And Annie, who's gonna help me get on my spot, and then I'll begin. Thank you so much. So before I start, HRM is going through some public consultations as we speak. Within the community around the current accessibility strategy. So I thought it would be great to take this meeting at the time to allow the committee to provide any feedback they would like. You committee members can also attend current public consultations that will be going on in the next few weeks, but I thought it might be nice for the committee and us just to discuss. So Annie, if you want to go to the next slide, maybe that's how I'll let you know. So I'm just going over the main current action items that are currently in the strategy, and with each section there's only a couple of questions I'll ask the committee. So the first action item around public transportation and transportation infrastructure. Next slide, Amy. So, I gotta change one thing on my screen about it. Give me 1 second. Okay, so we have a couple here. Under public transportation and the current strategy, we implement mobile data computer software on booking and on Magzio system to improve accessible booking. Then we had developed a passenger survey regarding accessible services to measure success. And as well, ensure all bus stops follow accessible standards. And then in brackets, we had well maintained shelter. Next slide. And then increase public awareness to the disability community around snow removal. Develops system for booking accessible transportation within the Halifax region, so that was a very accessible taxi, accessible buses and buses. Next slide. And so with these action items, here are a few questions I have for the committee. What kinds of issues do you experience for public transportation or transportation infrastructure? 2, do you think that the actions HRM has listed may remove the barriers that you experience? Why or why not? And do you have any ideas for how public transportation or transportation infrastructure could be improved? So I believe, Annie, we're going to go and allow each member, is that correct? Just to do roll call and to speak.
Right, thanks, Melissa. So now what we'll do is, so that everybody has an opportunity to answer these questions and reflect on each section as we go through, we'll go through the speakers list. And so the first person on the list I have is Michelle Mahoney. Michelle, would you like to comment, please?
My apologies, Chair. I had to mute Michelle during Melissa's presentation because some background noise started coming in. So
Okay.
Michelle, you are muted right now.
So we'll wait till she gets unmuted and we'll go on to Rochelle and then we'll come back to Michelle.
Thank you. I'm like, do I even have anything to say? Being the first person to ask a question is tough. I didn't have time to think. Around the snow clearing stuff, like something that I had noticed myself when it came to snow clearing over the winter isn't so much that I didn't know what the policy was, just so like that it wasn't going super well. And so maybe it's because I didn't know like how it was supposed to be working, but also it just seemed like there was some stuff missing. So I guess I'm wondering in terms of like the strategy piece around like making sure that the disability community knows about snow clearing. It would be great to actually have those in charge of snow clearing perhaps like come to like give us a presentation on like what is actually the plan, what's supposed to be happening, and perhaps we can give feedback on that. Yeah, versus like us knowing what's happening if what's happening isn't going super well already. I don't know if that's gonna actually like improve any barriers. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say right now. Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. So, Melissa, just so that we're clear, so you're going to take this feedback and figure out how you want to incorporate it into the strategy, right?
Yeah, so it will be this feedback as well as other feedback that we're doing currently now, and also what we heard internally from staff. So we're going to incorporate it all and figure out the best recommendation moving forward.
Thank you, Melissa.
Yeah.
Jordan, you're up. Here next.
Yeah, it's good having a W last name and a J letter first name. I'm not usually the first unless I used my middle name, David. But I kind of answer questions 1, 2, and 3 all in one, or kind of ask the question. But I kind of know what I would expect as an answer. And I think this is not just an HRM problem, but something I've seen in other municipalities, including Kentville, where I currently am, and Wolfville previously. I mean, there's lots of barriers to experience with public transportation. Like in Wolfville, Halifax is hilly, it's on a hill. A lot of the municipality is, like Wolfville around a harbor. But I mean, those things you can't really build against, right? It's just geography and geology. You can't really do anything about them. But what I found with public transportation and transportation infrastructure, along with number 2 and 3, is I think, the actions that have been listed by HRM, I think now is the time, and we are striking while the iron is hot, and we're actually sitting and people are being heard and something's being done about this. My barrier is why, and I mean, it's a difficult answer, but I think it's not just about cost, or it's not just about efficiency or people taking responsibility. My big idea to the first 2 questions is I think people could coordinate better, and take opportunities. I think with what I've seen in many municipalities, and especially in Halifax, and especially as a resident of the West End of the peninsula, was that when I lived there, great ideas and things were done, like Connaught Avenue and Bayers Road, where I lived, for instance. Redoing that from the Bicentennial Highway to Bayers Road, and it was night and day from what I remember coming into Halifax as a child to the peninsula for different appointments. Right, great, but then you hit Connaught Avenue, and that other end of Bayers Road where my apartment building was, and it's like, whoa, it's like all this stuff hasn't been finished yet to make it a really good, efficient entry into the peninsula, into the Halifax former city community. And I mean, this is something I've witnessed when I worked in Dartmouth and when I worked in Bedford as well, is that there's very limited scopes, and things like the pandemic or budgets happen and things get dropped. So for me, I think what I'd love is just better coordination, for new projects like the Mill Cove Ferry, and the reconstruction of the Halifax Waterfront Ferry Terminal. Instance where I lived in Mumford Road and the West End Mall and Halifax Shopping Center, redoing the Mumford Transit Terminal, in different ways. When these opportunities come to redevelop these things and rethink these things, make sure that the disability community is consulted, that all the stakeholders and partners in building and engineering it are consulted, and make sure it works and revise if necessary, right, from continuously. So I just think there's a great opportunity as a municipality that Halifax can take and be a leader in this, and actually be a light for places like the town of Kentville and County of Kings to do some more themselves, because we're even further behind here than you. So I'm excited for this.
Liz?
Okay, yeah, so I can't speak for other deaf and hard of hearing and late deafened individuals who use Accessibus, but I'm sure that those who have additional health problems, mobility issues, how good the system is as far as booking a ride. I mean, is it easy to call to book a ride? Sometimes, you know, you want the choice to be able to email, and then you're getting an answer days later, and you'd want response quicker if you're trying to book transportation. To be able to phone, you know, you get through and you book something quick, but deaf and hard of hearing individuals who have to rely on emailing, some do use the video relay service. Now we call it A-Sign, which is the new name. The company that provides it has changed their names. So that makes it more equitable that they can use the video relay service to make a phone call, but whether or not the community is familiar with the service, the video relay service. And so just making sure the Accessibus system has options. And then I'd really like to see happen a live chat feature, which again levels the playing field, offers choices to be able to reach out and communicate. I haven't used that feature myself, but like I said, just having the different options to be able to communicate and make reservations.
Wonderful.
Oh, and one more thing actually that I wanted to add, not only for deaf and hard of hearing, but people who aren't able to speak. They have aphasia, they've had a stroke, and then that would also provide them other options to communicate just as equally.
Wonderful. Thank you, Liz. April. You'd like to share?
Hi, I'm gonna actually just piggyback off of the last speaker and also Jordan. I think that my biggest issue, based on my personal experience, based on my family's personal experience, I have 8 dependents, all with multiple diagnoses. My sister had a catastrophic stroke, is nonverbal. Communication would be my biggest complaint, is having multiple channels of communication for anyone who needs to communicate in ways that they are able to communicate. And then it also like kind of nips in the bud a lot of the other issues that are going on, like when there's all these construction things happening and etc., or the delays for Accessibus for hours sometimes for somebody who's at dialysis 3 days a week, etc. With that lack of communication, it really kind of infringes on, sometimes the very short periods of time that people have to rest or to nourish or to sleep after exhausting things that they do. So yeah, I would definitely vote for communication, and I agree with everything everybody has said up until this point. Thanks.
Thank you very much, April. Liz, my apologies. Did you have another comment? Did I cut you off?
Oh yeah, no, I did get all my points out. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Liz. And
Also,
next,
I just wanted to, sorry, sorry, I forgot to say, just thank you, Melissa, for the presentation. And thanks so much for the opening about Andrew. It was really like, I just feel like I needed it. So thank you, everyone. I'm very grateful.
thank you so much. We'll go now to Michelle. Do you have an ability to participate now? All right, we'll keep going then. Councillor Purdy.
Thank you. I have a question actually about slide on the public transportation slide. So it says implement mobile data computer software, online booking, automatic fare systems to improve accessible bus booking service. I was wondering, do we have an ETA on that? When would that be expected to be implemented? And I think the automatic fare system, if what I'm understanding by that phrase means you pay when you book perhaps, and that might cut down, from my understanding is there's a lot of no-shows with the Accessibus, and that of course exasperates the booking challenges of having to book so far in advance. And so just wondering if I could get clarification on that and what it means. The other question too, just because received some correspondence just through the Transportation Standing Committee about transit shelter spaces or bus stops, the transit shelters, and just like that sometimes garbage isn't collected in a timely manner. So is that what well-maintained shelters means? I'm just wondering, like the cleanliness aspect of the bus shelters. And what can we do to improve public transportation? Well, community access from community to community, a little more direct. So we're not having to, like, I think timely transit trips are really important. So that we're not spending an hour and a half to 2 hours to get somewhere, but on transit. So I think that would be a great improvement with our transportation services in the city.
Great.
That's all I have on that. Thank you.
Melissa, would you like to respond to some of that?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'll try my best, right, because I'm not transit, so bear with me. So in terms of the mobile data software, that is installed in all of the buses, especially for Accessibus. That was the software that was going into those buses. So I believe that's been done for quite some time. In terms of the booking, I think that's where we're at, right? And like having other ways to book Accessibus, right? Because currently we have that you can call to book, but actually providing other booking options. I believe when we did that recommendation, that's kind of where we were going with that. And then as far as your other question around maintaining the shelters, you're right, Councilor Purdy, in the sense that I think it was about making sure garbage wasn't there, but also like sometimes shelters, the glass gets broken, and then we get glass all over the place, which is kind of a hazard and a concern. And I think when at that time about maintaining shelters, it was also looking at are those shelters accessible? Like, are they big enough for, say, a scooter, a wheelchair user to use? So I think way back when we wrote that recommendation, I think those are the things that were at the top of mind for community at that time. So I hope I answered your question to the best that I could.
You did good. Deputy Mayor, may I just clarify one more thing?
Yes.
Just on the fare, automatic fare systems, what does that mean?
That is a good question. I think it means like we have the app right now.
Oh,
like
the automatic app. So you got it. Thank you, Melissa. Sorry.
No problem. No
That's it. Got it.
problem.
Good, and now we're on to Councillor Russell.
Thank you very much. I take transit occasionally and have not experienced any of the barriers that many of the people in this committee would have experienced. So my knowledge comes from third-party conversations, and one of them centered around the accessibility of transit tickets, in that when this individual initially contacted me, there was one location in Lower Sackville where you could buy transit tickets, and it took a while to be able to set up a second location at the other end of Lower Sackville. And the challenge that brings, of course, is if someone needs transit tickets and they don't have any, they've got to get to that location and they've got to find out where it is and all of that. And it's regularly not as convenient as it could be. So what I would hope for is a review of the mapping of where transit tickets are available from through the lens of someone who has accessibility challenges. Because it might not be as easy as many people think. You can't just hop in a taxi and go and get transit tickets. That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. So you have to get there on your own. So a review of where the transit tickets are available through the lens of this committee, I think would be very helpful.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. So thank you everyone for your feedback. We're going to go back to Melissa. And I may have done a wee bit of a disservice at the beginning. So when we're looking at this as the HRM consultation, oops, somebody's...
Sorry, this is Liz. I just have one more quick thing to add, if that's all right.
Please do.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long ago, but I did remember the bus machines to buy tickets used to be in a busier area that was more convenient. And now I find that they've moved it further away from where it used to be. So it is tougher to get there. Like sometimes I have to take my car with or you know, drag all of my groceries, my bags with me to get to the machine. So it would be nice to have those stations closer to busier areas. So there used to be a station at one of the old stores on the east side. Yeah, and the station was quite close to the store, so it was quite easy to get there. So, you know, for example, if you did your grocery shopping and then you had to go to the station, it wasn't too far to get there, or if you were in a wheelchair or something like that. And yeah, and I'm also thinking about the Mumford terminal. If it would be a possibility to put a station there so it's closer to people, where it's busier and there's more accessibility for it.
Okay, thank you for that feedback, Liz. And Rochelle also has another comment.
Just wanted to add that I'm sure other people agree that having a station closer to a busier area would be a lot easier to access, like closer to a bus terminal or something like that. I'm just talking about more in general.
Thank you. And my apologies, I can't see all of the speakers, so I'm not always able to see if we've got more going on. So if I end up cutting you off, it's not my intention, sorry. So, Rochelle.
Yeah, thank you. I thought of something when Trish was speaking, Councillor Purdy was speaking, actually, because it sort of has to do with like the options for trips and how many, like, how close trips are, how far they go. I have found that like during really busy hours, and I don't take public transit anymore because of its like accessibility issues, and I was very lucky I was able to get a car. But something that I noticed when I was taking public transportation, and something that I hear from a lot of people, is that during busy times, like when you're someone who has a like mobility challenge or chronic pain or like a mobility aid that like takes up space, it is a lot harder to use the bus when it is busy. And people like aren't as kind as they should be of like moving out of the way and actually like making space for people who need to sit down, or who have to like move the seat so that like their wheelchair can fit in. And so I find that like during busy times, every bus is so full, it becomes really hard to to get on the bus and actually use the bus. And I know that this is like a complicated ask and things, but having more trips on each line would probably combat a lot of that, especially during like rush hour. And then also having, and I think this is sort of more similar to Councillor Purdy's comment around like, having less transfers is going to be really helpful for anyone who has a harder time with mobility. Having to get like on and off the bus and go to another place and do all the moving around, like that is really tricky if you're someone who has a hard time moving around. So yeah, thank you. Those are my last thoughts.
Thank you, Rochelle. Councillor Purdy has got another comment as well. But
Thank you. Yeah, just that what Rochelle said there. The moving forward together plan, which is what our is kind of the policies behind the transit changes that have happened in the last couple of years. That was one of their policies, was to eliminate the longer routes and put in shorter routes, so more transfers. I mean, hoping that it would help solve some of the getting stuck in traffic, to try to move the buses along. But that's an absolutely horrible idea when you have someone with accessibility issues, or a mom with a stroller, or like there's just so many obstacles that creates, and with our weather, rain, heat, cold. So it's just, I don't think it's a great idea. So policy issues like that need to be really reconsidered, I think, with the accessibility lens on it. So thank you. That was my last one. Promise.
Thank you very much. Okay. So we did start a little bit late, and so we're going to move this along to the next section, which is the built environment. And just to understand that our job here today is really to give feedback to Melissa on these questions. So we're in a little bit, doing a test run on the strategy itself, but our job is to give feedback on the questions, like what kind of questions that are going to lead to this kind of feedback to come from communities. So back to you, Melissa, for built environment.
Thank you, Jill, for staying on. Really appreciate that. So I'll try to move this along a little bit quicker. So under the built environment, we do have some action items. So Annie, you can flip to the next slide. So we have youth enhancing gold certification and CSA B561-118 standard for future infrastructure in the Halifax region. So this would be like for curb cut, public washroom, accessible parking spaces. The second is adopt enhancing gold certification, as well as the CSA standards for current infrastructure, including street infrastructure owned by HRM. You can go to the next slide, Amy. Develop review system to audit balance public facilities, recreational parks, playgrounds, and trails to assess when repairs or upgrades are needed to maintain accessibility. Ensure that all signage, including new signage templates, walkway, and equipment for beaches, parks, playgrounds and recreational facilities are accessible for individuals with disabilities. Next slide, Ian. And then again, these are similar questions. So what kind of BRT experience within HRM buildings or outdoor spaces do you think that these actions HRM has listed may remove the BRT experience of why do you have any ideas for how building environment of HRM could be improved?
Thank you, Melissa. I think, Rachel, we made you go first the last time, so how about we'll go to Jordan first and give you a little break on that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to clarify, Madam Chair, for the questions, as you said earlier at the end of the transportation and public transit infrastructure slides, do you want me to kind of comment on the questions and what was said, or do you want me to kind of give my answers or opinions about the questions? Because I worry I didn't do the right thing the first couple of slides. So.
Oh, no, I think, Jordan, we did great in the first.
Okay.
I think we maybe focused more on the subject matter than the questions. And for the intention of this part, we needed to get feedback to Melissa on, do we think these are the right kinds of questions to elicit the responses about the built environment and what is there? Melissa, have I got that right?
Well, can I just add to that, Chair? It's not necessarily about the question folk, it's about the current recommendation. And so these questions are more to help to determine whether or not folks think these recommendations are still relevant, if we need to change them, if we need to add something to the environment, for instance.
Yeah, I think it was actually great, Melissa and Madam Chair, that we were able to kind of have that test run for the first one, because it means, I think, given the responses we gave, I think we've done really well for this. Congratulations and kudos to you, Melissa, and the team at HRM for doing that. So I think these are actually really good, and I think built environment versus transit and transportation, I think these are getting progressively better, and I think I don't have any questions, and I'm very happy that this builds on the event we had at the Central Library earlier in the year. So I think we're good.
Thank you, Jordan. Liz.
Yeah, I think I'm just thinking, still emphasizing the importance of adding handrails for certain paths that might be hilly or difficult to traverse, or even areas where there are steps. I do notice that there are some areas with handrails within the parks in HRM that have implemented that. But there was one area, I don't remember the exact name of the street. It's one area that it has quite a bumpy way down. I'm not quite sure exactly the name of it, but it's quite close to the water, like waterfront. I'm not sure if you all know where it is, but there's like a wider ramp and then or bigger steps down. Excuse the interpreter. And it goes into the water, but there is no ramp. It's just steps. Do you know which area I'm talking about?
Yes, down by Bishop's Landing, or not by Bishop's Landing, but yeah, down at the waterfront between. Yep.
Yeah, right. Yes, it is the waterfront. I can't quite remember the name of the place though.
Queen's Marquee?
Yeah, but it's just it's a little scary for me when I go near there because there's no ramps or handrails. And so I'm thinking about people who have balance problems or issues in that sense, being able to access that, if it's accessible or not. And then also having, I have noticed that there are more benches that are more accessible that are lower down for people to be able to use. HRM parks, some of them are very well advertised and open to the public, but there are a couple that I didn't know of before. I was thinking of, I think it's Flag Pond Park. I've never even heard of that one before. I finally was able to visit it, I think 1 or 2 weeks ago, and I was quite amazed. Like everything was open. They had like different interactive things like a board and that you could play with, and yeah, it was really great experience. It was really nice, especially for people wheelchair users. It was completely accessible and I was quite impressed with that.
You're okay.
Yeah, and there was quite a lot of birds there, and I'm quite a fan of bird watching, so it was a really nice area, and I'm looking forward to going there more often in the future.
Lovely. Okay.
And that's it.
That's it. Great. So next, April.
Hi, yeah, I'm with Jordan. I thought the questions were great. They were worded really well too. And I like everybody else's ad.
Oh, this is Liz. I just had, sorry, one more thing to add that I forgot.
Sure.
Yeah, I did see that someone brought up Fleming Park. And I find that it is not accessible. It is quite frustrating. There's no rails. I'm quite fearful when I go there that I'm going to fall off the walkway because there's nothing stopping you from falling over. And even some people, you know, rush by and don't have a problem with it, but I have to be quite cautious about that. So I find that it's not accessible for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll go
Oh, who said that last? Oh, Jordan. Yeah. Yeah, do you mean that you agree that it's not accessible?
Absolutely, Liz. We had a event there with a community in Armdale that I was a part of. And it was also had, I think, people from Armdale Yacht Club that may have attended. And we did find it wasn't accessible. We had a mixed group of older people, people with mobility issues, young people. And I mean, I saw very young children and older children who found it inaccessible. But that's unfortunately the age of the park. But I mean, yes, certainly more can be done. It was very popular. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So we're going to move on. I'm going to have to exercise a little bit of due diligence as chair here to get us through, if you don't mind. And so we'll move on now to Michelle Mahoney.
Hi, sorry everyone. Thank you for allowing me to. I heard everything that was said on the way in my car. I heard all of the first set of questions. And are we commenting on the questions that are going to be asked, or are we answering these questions ourselves?
So, to you, Miss Hale, if I could answer that.
Okay.
Thanks. So I'm looking for the committee to respond to the current action items regarding, say, the bill environment. These questions were just almost guide folks and like whether or not people thought the recommendation were good on how we're going to improve the built environment. So folks, maybe as we go through the rest of the section, we'll kind of avoid these questions and just maybe look at the action items and get your thoughts on that.
Okay. Would it be appropriate, I guess, to bring up the like the scooters that get parked at the end of ramps? I went a couple of weeks ago to an event at the Cohen, and there was a scooter that was parked at the end of the ramp, and you know, the demographics that were going to this event, it was Island Girls. It was an event, and I was just really blown away that there was a scooter just left at the end of this ramp. And to me, like, this is not the first, and I know Councillor Daigle-Gammon and Russell too, you probably have, you know, you probably hear of this all the time, but you know, this is such a barrier in our built environment where people that depend on ramps have to maneuver through a scooter.
Okay, thanks for that, Michelle. We're going to move on then to Rochelle.
Thank you. Yeah, I do have a comment on, I think, I think I know what we're supposed to be doing. I have a comment on like how information might be presented, like how the action items are presented to the community when these presentations are going on. We, like, in the committee, we often talk about like the Rick Hansen Foundation and like those rules, but unless you've like looked into them, I don't think it's like very clear what that actually means. And so having some more information for the community to take on, like, you know, what is the Rick Hansen certified stuff actually mean if it's going to be part of the action items, and like how that implementation is actually going to like be rolled out, and like I guess what the expectations are for that like auditing process, and like if HRM buildings are not to that standard, is there an expectation for them to eventually like be at that standard? I can't remember where there's like a community center that like to get into the basement there's like a flight of stairs and no elevator, and I feel like maybe it's in Dartmouth, I can't remember. Yeah, and so like if that, like, is that just going to exist forever as an inaccessible venue, or is there an expectation that that will change? And like, yeah, just because we always talk about like the Rick Hansen stuff, but I find it's like not super descriptive unless you like really go and look into it, and then it's still like, well, what are we doing with these certifications anyways?
Thank you, Michelle. That's great. And we'll move on to Councillor Purdy.
I'm good for this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Purdy. Councillor Russell.
Thank you very much. Mine is in line a little bit with what Rochelle was talking about. There have been a couple of instances over the past few years where there have been challenges in the built environment where I've, in one case, discussed it with HRM staff, and in another case, demonstrated it to HRM staff that what had been developed was not accessible for various reasons. Where I think we need to go with this is making sure that not just those people who were designing the built environment, but those people who were implementing it, those people who were conceptualizing it, their managers, need the training, need to have this as something that is more top of mind uh, when they're doing their work, when they're considering what the options are. Saying it's going to be Rick Hansen certified is fantastic. Having everybody say that is better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Russell. So Melissa, I believe we can now move on to our next, which is phase 3, goods and services, and then we'll only have 3 more to go.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. So now we're on goods and services, so you can go to the next slide. So we only have one recommendation that we had under goods and services. So we had improved services and operation, i.e. number of recreational support staff to reflect the demand for accessible recreation. So I know that that was a specific recommendation, and that was one that was brought up quite often back when we consulted people quite a few years ago. So does anybody have any thoughts on this recommendation or on anything else under goods and services that you think we could improve? Let's do it now.
Okay, so if we go to our list, why don't we start with Councillor Russell?
Thank you. I don't know. Once again, I don't have experience using our goods and services or our services and operations through an accessible lens. So I would look to the wisdom and the advice of the rest of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. Michelle.
Did you say Michelle or Rochelle?
Michelle.
Because you know what? Andrew used to say Miss Mahoney, and then he would call Rochelle. So I'm going to miss that about Andrew. He would say Miss Mahoney.
That's right. That's right.
Do you remember that? I really would like to speak to this, but I'm wondering if you can give a different, like an example of what the goods and services would be.
So if I could be bold as to try, one of the things that I was looking at when I saw this, so the example was given the number of recreational support staff to reflect the demand for accessible rec. You know, do we have enough?
Oh, okay.
I would also look to think at, planning and development. Is there enough staff to meet the accessibility needs of customers that might come to planning and development office, those kinds of things? That's what I was thinking of.
Okay.
But Melissa, I'm sure will fill us in better.
Yeah, I think that was great, Dale. And also when I think of goods and services, I think of like garbage collection. So we've heard from community already that sometimes it's hard to know what goes where still. That's still a issue for community folks. So it could be garbage, it could be accessing 311, so different services like that. And then we also have fire and police as well. That would be a service under HR.
I'm sorry, what was that last part you said?
We would also have like the fire department or the
yeah.
That would fall under HR for sure.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to comment on goods and services. Everything else I do, but yeah.
Great, thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
Jordan.
Yeah, I think this is a good slide, and this is actually it melds with the infrastructure and the built environment and the transportation transit really well. Something I remember from the what was it, the open house or the engagement session at the Halifax Central Library was kind of an inconsistency amongst goods, not per se goods, but it's services, and customer resident services mindset, right? And I mean, whoever brought up about community planning and development, yes, that's good too. They should know about a lot of this and about the provincial Access by Design 2030 legislation. But part of me says, some government business units in HRM may not be as aware of them. Some individual employees and staff may be not as aware of them. Volunteers even may not be as aware of them on different committees. So I think that's a really good thing to keep in mind. But also, how do we keep just us as a community, the members of the community, and those providing community services to HRM citizens and staff and so on? How do we kind of keep that accessibility, accountability on accessible services and goods in the forefront of people's minds when they think about providing this stuff? Another thing that came up to me that was really interesting was like Halifax Partnership getting the local commerce and business communities and nonprofits involved in spreading the message, and working with people like community planning and development, working with parks and recreation, working with solid waste, working with transit, kind of being able to build that third pillar of community up within HRM. To paraphrase a book I read by an economist that was at the World Bank, it's like that's the third pillar that sometimes misses or has been kind of forgotten with government and markets, right? I think it's really great in an accessibility lens of that. How do we build up the community, right? Councillor Russell mentioned, 2 places to buy bus tickets in HRM. A lot of them are convenience stores that are privately run and owned and operated, providing that on behalf of Halifax Transit, like Lawton's or Atlantic News, whatever. How do we work with those vendors, or even procuring accessible services? I think that's just something I bring up.
Jordan, do you mind? Sorry to interrupt you.
Mm-hmm.
There's somebody has their mic still on, and there's a lot of background noise.
That might be my mother.
Oh, okay.
That might be the kitchen.
Okay.
But I'm finished. I think this is a great question, but or a slide. Actually my advice would be expand upon it, and this one ask a lot of more questions, right? And that's it for me right now.
Thank you, Jordan. I appreciate that. Liz.
Sorry, I'm not sure if this is quite what you're looking for. And as far as deaf and hard of hearing individuals, just making sure that everyone would be familiar with the diversity in the community and the different kinds of disabilities. There are wheelchair users, there are visually impaired individuals, neurodivergent communities. It's very diverse, and just to treat them respectfully, but not only those who are HRM employees, but the fire and police and bus drivers, and that they provide that level of treating everyone as individuals, regardless of their disability, instead of pitying or looking down on. Just that way it's accessible to everyone. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Liz. And now we will go to, we did Jordan, Liz, April. Did we start with you, April? Annie, do you know if we lost April? So in the meantime, I might.
Chair, sorry. I can see that April's still in the meeting. April has just asked you to unmute if you're able to.
Thank you, Annie. So just while we're waiting, I might offer a comment. And that's just in the presentation, this is the one slide that my feedback would be maybe that we need to give a few more examples about what this might be. So, as we said in the conversation, thinking about fire, thinking about police, thinking about planning, thinking about the different business units that provide a service or an operation for our residents, that we might just want to think about some more examples, and some more examples will help facilitate some of the answers to the questions about whether or not we're on the right track with this. So that's just my feedback. April, are you able to unmute? Okay, we're going to keep going then. I think we've got everybody then on this list. And so
Madam Chair, may I just provide a quick little comment real fast?
Please do. I apologize if I missed you, Councillor Purdy.
Okay, I'm very missable. It was just yeah, it was just about like the online component of all submissions to HRM. I know that is a barrier. I've heard that from some elderly residents, and also the in-person aspect of community or sort of service providing, the in-person as opposed to everything being online. I know that's greatly missed, and just accessible places where that can happen. So just
thank you.
That was my feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Purdy.
And
I missed
I'm
Rochelle.
sorry. Oh, and it's just April. I'm sorry. I was having technical difficulties, but I didn't have anything to add. Everybody covered everything. Thanks.
Thank you, April. Rochelle, I missed you.
That's okay. Thank you. I guess I have a question. Is 311 counted as part of goods and services? If anyone can answer that. Okay, cool. I think that like that might be a good example for people to be able to comment on. I feel like 311 is a pretty like widely used service, and often like the way that I use it is related to how I'm impacted by other goods and services and like other business units. Like if I have to like call and report like a snow removal issue, which is like something we have already talked about, or like an illegally parked vehicle of someone who's like been in like who doesn't have an accessible pass that's parked in an accessible space, and all those things. So I think it like is really well utilized, or perhaps could be well utilized by people from an accessibility standpoint. So perhaps that can be one of the examples included in the goods and services slide, like around 311 and how that's operating. Especially like I think it only operates during like HRM business hours, and so in the nighttime, like I can't report snow removal issues or anything that like might be coming up, but it still comes up in the evening. And so that might be something to like that maybe someone else wants to comment on as well when they are in these community consultations. So I feel like 311 is like a pretty wide range service, and can be like a useful example to have on this slide.
And Liz is saying that is also another issue for the deaf and hard of hearing individuals, having a live chat feature. And not only a live chat, but then the video relay services, having other means of accessing that. I've emailed, and it just is so long to get a response back. And for hearing individuals, I don't want to continue on the same tangent, but that it just is a lot quicker for them to just make a phone call.
Sounds great. And I do think that we've very organically moved into the next section because the next section is on information and communication. Melissa, you're back up.
Thank you, Chair. Before I go any further, folks, I feel like there's a lot of confusion. So let me do my best. Maybe the third time will be the charm. So these are the action items that currently exist in the current strategy. So when we're going out to public, we are showing public these are the current items we're wanting to hear from public, as well as the committee to know whether these items are still relevant, maybe what's missing. So when a few said in the goods and services that you would like to see more action on, what my question back to the committee would be, what kind of barriers do you face with goods and services that we could potentially make as an action item to improve that barrier? Does that make a little bit more sense, folks? I want to make sure that people understand before we move forward. Sorry, Ms. Chair, if I'm making this really difficult for you today. I'm not able to see if people have their hands up or anything, so maybe folks just shout out if you're good, if you're not good.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Just on the topic of Annie, the committee clerk's message there, or Deputy Mayor Dago Gammon, sorry. I can stay if needed for quorum. I just probably won't say anything, but you'll probably be able to see me and I can stay.
Okay. Melissa, Councillor Russell said that he needs to leave, and Jordan was just saying that previous to this recent comment that he might have to leave, and so we wanted to check for quorum if we've got 2 people leaving or even 1 leaving. Annie, what is our status for quorum?
For the members that are currently on the committee, there are currently 9 members on the committee, so quorum right now is 5. So we are good for the time being.
Okay.
If both Councillor Russell and Jordan, if you have to leave, all good.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure working with you all.
Jordan, thank you so much for all of your contributions to the committee. We really very much enjoyed your participation and the active participation. It was very much appreciated. Thank you, and good luck to you down the valley.
Yes, I'll use the skills I learned here to help the town of Canfield, which has a similar committee to this. So, yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so we're back. Melissa was just double checking with us all to see if we were in a good place of understanding. And the same as Melissa, I can't always see everyone, but through that chat, if we just take a moment to just say we're good, then we know that we can continue. If not, we might have Melissa reaffirm where we're at. Trisha's good. Rachel's good. Rochelle is good, rather.
I'm good.
Thank you, Michelle.
Michelle Mahoney, sorry.
Mahoney.
I'm good too.
Thank you, April. All right. Well, let's continue then.
I'm good as well.
Thank you, Liz.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Chair. So we're under information communication item. So next slide, Amy. So we have increased training for municipal staff. By recreational staff, fire, police, librarians, on how to serve and accommodate persons with disabilities. Develop guides for municipal promotional materials, which makes them accessible to individuals with disabilities. Next slide, please. Make the municipal internet website and web content conform to the web content accessibility guidelines, as well as looking at those guidelines for first ring. So that's where we put our job posting and GIS mapping. Ensure plain language and clear format for all municipal communication, and update accessibility based on the Halifax.ca to provide information on accessibility in the municipality. So when we think about information and communication, do you folks think that these are still relevant recommendations that we should be working toward? Do you think there's anything missing based on your experience of failures that you might experience when it comes to connecting and receiving information? Let's see how we do this go.
Thank you, Melissa. And Liz, you're up, and we appreciate seeing in the chat. You're right on cue.
Yeah, I'm thinking about live chat. I really do love it. Some deaf people are more comfortable with signing since ASL is their first language. It's their preferred language. And in that case, they're more comfortable using video relay services. So the company Assign focuses more on that. But there are other people who prefer chat, live chat services. I have seen different options presented before. I would really encourage older people to be more independent in that way and to use those services. Did the cat catch your tongue?
Liza, are you finished? My apologies. Yeah, all done?
Yep, all done.
Thank
Maybe
you.
something might come up later, but I'm done for now.
Excellent. April. Councillor Purdy.
I'm good on this one. Thank you.
Great. Miss Mahoney. Michelle.
Pulling an Andrew, there you are. Yep, my only suggestion is to put in, I know you said you're talking about ensuring plain language is used, but also give examples of information and communications. Like, so information and communication, I think of like, is that signage too, or like when you say information and communication, I know I do this all the time for my work, but give examples of like what this means. I'm like, I've lost my train of thought. I can't think of an example, but like give examples of what people can draw from. Does that make sense? That's it.
Great. And I think, Liz stated it well in the chat when she said that there's some overlap.
Yes, exactly.
Categories. And so when you mention signage, and we know that that's something that's in the built environments. So Liz was on that one. So now we'll go to Rochelle.
Liz is just asking, can I just add a really quick comment? Sorry. I was just thinking sometimes in the sometimes HRM
use a
even
lot
that
of
is
jargon.
People often use jargon, and sometimes I don't understand what the sign is referring to. So it takes a moment to make that connection. So it would be nice to have more plain language in that sense. I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but that's an issue as well.
Thank you. So Rochelle?
Yeah, thanks. I guess like when I'm thinking of information and communication, like as an example, probably like social media is kind of a big one that like might be something important to note in some way. It's something that I think about in terms of like the communication piece that I don't know if it's like mentioned here yet is when people want to communicate back. And I think it's like sort of been brought up too, but because I think about on social media, like anyone can comment. And so like what is I guess like how do we ensure the accessibility of people being able to like share their feedback? Because to me, that's like also a part of the communication piece. So yeah, sort of like a broad thought on like, yeah, social media and response to information and communication so that there's sort of the two-way thing. But yeah, that's all I have. It's sort of a messy thought and not really maybe that useful.
It's like very usable. Thank you. So we've gone through everyone on the list, and so we get to move on to employment next, Melissa.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. So we'll just move on to employment. So we do have quite a few employment recommendations or action items. That's when we did create this strategy. I think employment was the hot topic at that time. So we have establishing hiring procedures which requires defining accommodations for individuals with disabilities on job postings and the municipality, including accommodations available with the interview process. Second, compile an internal list of accommodations provided to employees with disabilities. Next slide. Develop a workplace accommodation policy which outlines a formal process for providing accommodations to job candidates and employees with disabilities. Establish partnerships with external partners such as universities and colleges to provide municipal placement and internships that are available for students with disabilities. Next slide. Develop a procedure to share municipal job postings with agencies who support individuals with disabilities seeking employment. Develop corporate training which educates hire managers about workplace accessibility and review current hiring practices and ensure that they are providing employment to individuals with disabilities. And I think those were all of the employment. So again, do people think having these action items are gonna improve people to access employment at HRM? Do you think they'll still failures there?
I muted myself. Thank you, Melissa. So, April, you are first on our list for comment. I'll try to find you again. Melissa, I'm sure that if we have a moment where people haven't been able to add as much, or they think that there's more information, that they can email you directly after the committee meeting and provide some feedback as well.
That might be a good idea, but anytime in the next couple weeks, I'm gonna say to we're combining all of this feedback that would have want to email with feedback. I'm more than happy to do that. And add on to our feedback that we're already receiving.
Okay, great, thank you. So, Councillor Purdy.
Oh my goodness. My mouse isn't working, so I have to use my fingers. No, these are great recommendations. So no real comments right now. They're good.
Thank you. Michelle Mahoney.
Hi there. Thanks, Councillor Daigle-Gammon. Was there anything there about training, employment training for individuals?
Yeah, it did develop corporate training.
Okay.
Okay. But
I'm sorry. I see that now. I'm sorry. I'm not wearing my glasses and I'm still on my phone, so I'm sorry about that. No, that's good. No, I think that's really good. I think those are all really, I think it covers it.
Great. And Rochelle.
Yeah, I actually don't have a comment on this one. I don't do a lot with employment through the HRM, so I don't really have anything to speak from, but I think that like this is very informative. So yeah, I have nothing else to add.
And Liz.
Yep, I just have one little thing to talk about. I'm not sure if this is still being used today, but I remember before they would use for hiring processes, they would use like they would have different duties. So for example, like someone would be delegated to do phone, and then someone would be delegated to have different responsibilities. Does that make sense? Like within the hiring process?
Like a swap with other people in the organization. Trading of duties with somebody else for duties that a disabled person wouldn't be able to do.
So in my old world, we would have called that a little bit of job carving, to create a full job description for someone within a business unit or a section. Is that what you might be thinking about, Liz? Am I close?
I think so. Yeah, just passing those duties around to make sure that the person who's responsible is able to do it. So if maybe there is a job posting or some type of responsibility that I'm not able to do, I would switch out with someone else. And so you delegate those duties.
That's good feedback. Thank you. And so, if I might, one of my comments here might be just where it says develop a procedure to share the municipal job postings with the agencies who support people with disabilities. And then on the other, another bullet down is about established partnerships with external partners. And it says universities and colleges to provide municipal workplaces, placements and internships that are available. I'm just wondering if those external partners that are listed, universities and college, could also be agencies as well who support people with disabilities.
Yeah, that's great feedback. I think at the time we were thinking universities and colleges, but yeah, it would then extend to like those agencies as well, those employment agencies.
Right.
Councillor Dago Gammon, it's Michelle here.
Yes.
Can I just make a quick comment?
Please do.
When Liz was talking about like doing another job, I think what I'm wondering if you meant, Liz, was that like, so let's say I do a job, or let's say I'm employed, but like, for example, I took a job and I mean, I couldn't do the mail because I couldn't reach the mailboxes. So somebody else did the mail and I took on another job, like, so I took something of theirs. So maybe kind of like the flexibility of you know, duties that, like, you know, like if there's something that I can't not do, then, you know, is that going to prevent somebody with a disability from not getting the job? Like having that flexibility of potentially like rearranging a position a bit to accommodate, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I was thinking of even accessibility of like parks. If you were going to do an assessment on a park, and if it's inaccessible even for the person who's doing the assessment, you know, maybe then that could be done by somebody else. But that concept is, yes, exactly what I was talking about.
Right.
Okay.
And we do have that bullet point there about developing the workplace accommodation policy.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Then awesome. I think it's covered. Yeah, perfect. That was a great that was a really great informative standard there. So good.
Right. So Melissa, you've made it through our 5 themes.
I just have one more slide.
Oh, did we have one more? Sorry, I thought we made it through the 5.
That's one.
This is what I was going to go to next. Was
okay.
I was saying we made it through the themes.
Yeah.
Now we're at the conclusion.
Yeah.
So your last 2 questions for us, and we'll go through our list as well.
Yeah. So my last 2 big questions is based on everything we talked about today. Do you have any other feedback that you want to provide? And 2, is there anything that we didn't talk about today that you think should be part of the HRM accessibility strategy?
Great. And so we're going to start with Councillor Purdy.
Thank you. No, I think we were really wholesome. Melissa, you've thought of everything here, which is great. I guess the only thing, and it was mentioned at some point during this meeting, but just like ongoing open communication with the, you know, accessible community, just so that there can be open communication. So the survey, I think for the transit, what was one of the things? So maybe surveys throughout the year, just to see how are we doing, what's the feedback, what are some of the improvements that you'd like to see, just to keep that open communication, people feel heard and that they have a place to direct comments to. But no, great. And I have a 6 o'clock hard stop. One of my kids is leaving tonight to in a half an hour, so I have to go make sure he's got everything that he needs. He's going to Korea, so I'm gonna have to stop at 6.
Okay, we've got 6 minutes. So next is
And
Michelle.
Liz is saying, really, Korea?
So we're on to Michelle now. Yep.
Wow.
Did you say Rochelle or Michelle?
I said Michelle. Okay, I'm going back to Miss Mahoney.
Such an Andrew thing to do. I love it. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think this is great as well, Melissa. I think you covered. I agree with Councillor Purdy. You know, it is wholesome, and again, constant connecting, collaborating with persons with disabilities as well is really key to this, because we're the experts, right? So, yep, great job.
Thank you. Rochelle.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, also just want to sort of echo that. Like, this, I think, is a great presentation and a great way to get information from the rest of the community who needs to be heard from. Which I think that was really like, we could see that when we just started answering the questions by accident in the first question there. I think that like all the information that needed to come out of it probably will. So great job. I am excited that we got like a little sneak peek at what is happening.
Wonderful. April, did we get you back?
Yes, I'm sorry. I can hear you and see you, but it'll pop up and say the admin is prompting you to speak, but then it won't let me turn off the audio when it does that. I don't know why, but I'll ask my tech guy. But I thought it was absolutely great. I loved too the plain language. Somebody else had mentioned it, so I didn't feel bad that I didn't get to speak about it, but I love that was in there. Melissa, it's always a pleasure. Your presentations are always well put together and well done. And I just want to say thank you so much. You couldn't have done a better job.
Wonderful. We're glad that you're back and can contribute, April. We always like that. Liz.
I'm here. I enjoyed the discussion. I thought it was a good discussion that we all had, and as well to say to Melissa, good job.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much. And then, oh, Rochelle, you have to leave right at 5. Oh, no, 6. Okay. The only thing I would like to add, and, you know, I do appreciate just the complexity of this. It's really not an easy thing to put together when you're thinking about HRM and what this strategy looks like and can be done. The only thing that we didn't talk about that I think maybe should be part of our accessibility strategy is, where is the evaluation component? How are we evaluating where we're successful, where we've still got some gaps? So I think we might want to think about where that belongs. Not to be answered today, of course, but just from feedback, that's one of the things I would say. And then the other thing that I would probably contribute to is that there is an ability for HRM to be leaders in this field and in this place, and for other municipalities to follow. And that came to me because of Jordan's, you know, parting comments, that what he learned here, he will bring to his next adventure in advocacy down the valley, possibly. So I guess we think about where we share, excuse me, where we share this strategy. So those are my only 2 parting comments. Thank you, Melissa, for leading this important work. We're always really, I think we are so fortunate to have you in this position. So we really thank you so much for that. Feels awesome. Moving right along, because we've got seconds left. 9.2, committee members, there are none. Staff updates, there are none. Added items, there are none. And our next meeting will be May 13th. And so now we can call for a motion to adjourn with a minute to spare. Thank you, Liz.
Yes, Liz, I so move.
Thank you very much, Liz. Our screen was back. I can see you now. So thank you, everyone. Councillor Purdy, our best to your family member on their new adventure.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Take care. Thank you.